Yes, 41 days to go to the already disputed date for the fresh presidential election. Campaigns officially kick off today. Those campaigns will end on the 15th of October, exactly 48 hours before polling stations open for Kenyans to elect afresh their president. Now, despite the disagreement by political players, IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati has gone ahead to name a new team to oversee the repeat elections, curiously leaving out a number of senior officials of the agency secretariat, including CEO Ezra Chiloba. Now, what exactly informed this move by Chebukati? Could he be accused of jumping the gun, given that the full written ruling by the Supreme Court is yet to be released? Should Chebukati's team have consulted the political players involved before his latest move? Now, speaking of political players, the National Super Alliance has already dismissed the date set for the repeat presidential elections and has demanded a different date be set. Jubilee, meanwhile, insists that it will not allow NASA to determine the election date. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears we are back to square one, that very familiar and peculiar in Kenya's space where we disagree on everything, including nothing. Which way forward? Well, the clock is already ticking. With a third of the 60 days as ordered by the highest court in the land already spent, do we still have time to squabble? What are the consequences of such a stalemate? Yet, not everyone is worried by these turn of events. In fact, if anything, the order for fresh presidential elections appears to have given a new lease of life to a very unique crop of political leaders, specifically those who lost in the August 8th elections. Peter Munya is now, for example, the 6th principal in NASA, soon after losing the governor's seat in Meru. Meanwhile, a group of leaders from Western Kenya yesterday trooped to State House to pledge their loyalty to President Kenyatta. It is a circus that is Kenyan politics. Good morning and welcome to Citizen Extra, the Ballot 2017 edition, our continued special coverage of the 2017 general election and the seemingly never-ending intrigue surrounding the process. My name is Fred Indimuli. In studio this morning, you're privileged to have analysts Charles Kipkulei, Michael Agwanda and Sam Kamau. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is, we are in for very interesting times, you must agree.
Absolutely.
Let's start off, of course, with what the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati has done. Yesterday, he went ahead after setting a date for the elections. He went ahead and named a new team to oversee this repeat process, leaving out quite a number of senior officers of IEBC. Now, the curious question, and those are the questions we are asking now, is he not jumping the gun? Should he have waited for this written ruling by the Supreme Court, which is expected to detail exactly what was ailing the process, what the problem was, exactly who should be blamed, so that he can actually do what he has attempted to do? Should he probably have consulted the political players, because it would appear that some of these names that have been left out have already been mentioned by one side of the political divide. Is that the basis? Has he had any consultation? Because there are so many questions. Let's start from there, Charles. Should he have waited a bit? Don't you think he's jumping the gun? I know there's a constraint on time, surely. We do understand.
Fred, I think what I see in this is Chebukati is trying to do an act in self-preservation. Because in the ruling, he is one of the persons who they say that they failed to deliver a credible elections. So he is trying to rescue himself and actually the commissioners at the IBC by trying to be seen as doing something. And sometimes tough situations call for tough measures. The problem is Pandora's box has been opened now. What I foresee is that there's going to be the thing has been used to litigation around the elections. This time around, that's challenging the legality of these appointments and this team, and something may come out of that. The challenge here is in building trust on this team, that there are people who can really deliver, but it goes back to the question that we've been putting to the IBC all the time, the issue of communication. What is the fate of Chiloba and his team, the top management in IBC? So what is their status? Where are they? Because we have no communication, at least officially, and even yesterday, before this other communication came, the IBC through its official Twitter handle said, ignore all of these rumors, there's been no changes. And then in the evening, then the changes happen. So what happened to the people who were not supposedly not affected by the changes? Because
the communication does not say anything about anyone being sent on compulsory leave or being suspended. That means Chebukati and his team are still in office. Then you set up a different team made up of their juniors probably to oversee a process. But still, even in the hierarchy of that office, they still get to report to the same bosses.
Fred, this is the most confused group I've ever seen. And I know that is a little bit stronger term to be used in this case. But I want to take you back to where we began, where, you know, NASA went to the courts, the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court granted them their prayers. And a new election is presidential election is supposed to take place. But as soon as the Supreme Court delivered their verdict, the first person to have held a conference was Chebukati himself. And when he held the conference, none of his commissioners were around him. In fact, I think it was only one commissioner. I will imagine that with such huge dented image that they were coming with from the Supreme Court, the entire commissioners will be sitting there. I think there are 9 commissioners. They will be standing beside him to really say that we're in solidarity with what the chairman is reading. And he said there could be some purge, there could be some reasons why some people might be out of this place. But remember, he also said that we will wait to see what the complete ruling will be like in 21 days just to see. Now in this case, we are looking at a possibility of even that ruling attacking Chebukati himself. Remember, Chebukati has been the returning officer, the presidential returning officer.
Michael, I have to cut you short there. I do understand that the Kenya Episcopal bishops, the Catholic bishops, are holding a press briefing currently. Let's listen to what they have to say.
I think you asked about the danger. Yes. We all Kenyans are alive to the fact that we have a national anthem. The thing of our rally thing here is let one and all arise to peace our nation together. And it's applicable to all. Parties are meant to rally the Kenyans in order to balance the thinking and challenge one another. So, as bishops, we are saying that let's use dialogue as the only avenue to solve conflicts. We have all to learn a discipline. Leadership should be provided even when there are conflicts, so that we have the discipline of living as one unit as a country. So the test of the true leadership is to come on board and say, yes, the ruling is here, let's forget the past, the new Peter Singway, let to die with their die. So move forward. So avoid our going
emphasize temporary constitutions in temporary with the lives of Kenya. All the people of Kenya voted for this constitution to guide them. Anybody interfering in this constitution is interfering in the lives of people. That's it.
Are you concerned that the dispute is not on both sides?
Yes, we are concerned because our children are the future of this country. So why spoil the future of the children? Because of the seats. That's wrong. Let the children given their time to do to have their rights according to the Constitution again. The rights to do the exams. Postponing is not solving an issue. Remember the future life of your citizens of Kenya, the future life of the Kenya, because of the election of the seat. There's something wrong with our leaders.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much. You will be given copies graduate and also there are some students. Thank you. Thank you for coming in big numbers.
Catholic bishops there under the Kenya Episcopal Conference giving a briefing on the goings-on in the political field, especially with the disagreements on the fresh presidential election. We do apologize for the poor quality of audio from that press briefing, but we will have a better clip from that event. I'm sorry I had to cut you short, Bana Michael. When I just finish that, whatever you want.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we really don't know what the ruling is going to be like in fine details from the Supreme Court. And Chebukati himself might find himself in the on the wall to answer certain questions. Now, for him now to purport that he wants to fire some people, and by the way, when he was releasing this technical team that perhaps is going to look at the election, he never told us where the other secretariats are, whether Chebukati has been fired, whether Chebukati has been suspended. He never told us whether he's still in the office oversighting. Remember, all these secretariats literally is answerable to Chebukati, to Mr. Chiloba. Mr. Chiloba is actually their boss, and so you can't take a junior officer and elevate him to a position that is not really existing in this case, while the substantive owners of those offices are still in the office. Really, when you take a returning officer